Howdy folks, and welcome to another Taste of Gameplay video, this time for the Xin Zhong Guo 14. There's no chance I said that correctly, but the new China 14, Tier 6 Pan-Asian Premium Submarine. As always, these videos are designed to give you a sample of the gameplay of the ship, not to be an exhaustive analysis. I recommend the Wargaming Wiki or other content creators. So, the new China 14, is it a good submarine? Well, it has some interesting ideas. I like, in theory, the idea of having these deep water torpedoes that pack a pretty good punch. It's got 4 of them. They do 11,500 damage, go, I think, 63 knots, out to 10.5 kilometers. So, in theory, maybe you could make that work. The detection's not amazing, but it's okay at 6.4 kilometers. But in practice, I have the same problem with this sub that I do with all subs, which is it's really hard to have battle impact, and it's also just kind of dull. So let's talk about the acoustic torpedoes first, because in submarines, it tends to be the case that it's incredibly hard to hit with the non-acoustic versions of the submarines, and we can get into why that is, and maybe we will in a minute. But the acoustic torpedoes have this amazing ability, which is of course that they home in on targets, which is outstanding. This Dallas is a little bit of a paid actor. He's just sailing in a straight line. He's just going to, I don't think he's even going to DCP my pings. He takes all 4 torpedoes. But you notice something. This is actually a great instructive example. He took a full rack of torpedoes from me directly on the bow, and I did 9,000 damage. Roughly. A little more now because he's flooding. But most players will not take a full rack of torpedoes, and most players will not let the flood tick down. If you know how to avoid acoustic homing torpedoes and you're paying attention, it's actually not that hard to do in most circumstances, assuming you have complete freedom to maneuver. But even if you take that full rack of torpedoes, I did a total of 9,000 damage, which is good, but not exactly compelling, right? And that's best case scenario. And now I'm in a situation where I'm only reloading 2 torpedoes every 40 seconds because the new China 14 only gets 2 loaders in the front. So I did some math and I figured out that once you get over that initial set of torpedoes, your maximum damage, let's say it's a battleship with roughly 20% torpedo reduction, because that's what they usually have at tier 6. If you hit with both torpedoes every 40 seconds, they do 4,600 alpha damage each. That's 9,200 damage minus 20% is something like 7,400 damage every 40 seconds. That's best case scenario, absolute best case scenario. Now, of course, that doesn't include the flooding. It's possible that you could flood them, but that's it. That's all your ship does. You're not designed for spotting. You have no guns. The new China 14 does technically have a deck gun. Its range is 6 kilometers. It does 2,200 alpha damage sap every 5 seconds. So basically, you don't have any guns. I mean, best case scenario, if you just stood there, let's say you had an AFK battleship and you just needed to kill them to end the game, you'd have to stand there and pump torpedoes into them over and over and over again. Which of course is an argument in the new China 14 for using the non-acoustic torpedoes, but you're going to see later I'm going to have almost a best case scenario with a Scharnhorst 43 that's trying to push me because the game's basically over and he just wants to end it. I almost take these torpedoes, which would be really embarrassing, but he's going to be coming straight at me. But because he knows roughly where I am and he knows what I'm trying to do, and he can think and breathe at the same time, as Jingles would say, I'm going to launch the non-acoustic torpedoes at him, and he's just going to avoid every single one of them because it's just not that hard. He's just going to swing the rudder from left to right, and I have to basically completely just guess. And the thing is, in other ships, like in destroyers, you have the same problem, of course, but you have other things to do. There's spotting, there's capping, there's using your guns. You can go behind an island and shoot over it. Really, none of those options are available to you in a submarine. So you're just standing there trying to launch these torpedoes, hoping they're going to hit. The new China 14, the deep water torpedoes are strong. And if you had some paid actors, or you just got some battleships in the right situation where they really didn't know you were there, and you could catch their broadside, and you, let's say you hit a full rack of the 4 deep water torps, I mean, that would be pretty serious damage. That would be like 40,000 damage. But I've played a handful of games in the new China 14, and I have never actually had that happen. It's so, unless you were playing against bots, which you're not going to at this tier, it's just, and you're so fragile once people know where you are. I mean, you just don't have that many hit points, and you take a lot of damage from depth charges, and you're really slow underwater. I don't know. I find it hard to have battle impact. I'm actually going to have a pretty good game here. I'm going to do 40,000 damage, and I'm going to end up with 1,900 PR, which is about as good as I do in submarines. But I don't know. I mean, I keep trying to cap this center cap, but with a detection of 6.4 and no smoke, I mean, subs never have smoke because the idea is that going underwater is kind of like your smoke. I don't know. I can't get into it. I can't get into the submarines. My favorite sub at this tier, if I have to play subs, is probably U69. We'll get to that when we do the U69, and that's mostly because its acoustic torpedoes are the best at this tier. They do more like 7,200 damage, and it has 4 loaders, so I think you load all 4 at once. So in theory, you could actually do some pretty good damage. The Xin Zhong Guo, the new China 14, has a launcher in the stern, but it's only one, so it's not worth turning all the way around just to get that one 4,600 damage torpedo off. It only is just, it's occasionally handy as a gimmick, like if you have to turn and run. But turning and running is really hard in a submarine because you're so slow underwater. So you'd almost have to make it to the surface, but then you don't have very good detection. I don't know. I try to stay positive in these videos. I want to be positive. I don't know who the Xin Zhong Guo 14 is for. I mean, you really would have to enjoy a certain style of gameplay. I would love to talk to somebody that's like an expert in this particular boat and watch them play and be like, what are you doing? What do I not get about this? My team, by the way, kind of threw this one. I mean, not that I didn't have a role to play, but I'm doing my best over here in the center, and I'm just getting no backup. I'm not really sure exactly how this went so badly. It was going so well, and then but this is, again, this is part of the problem. Submarines in general, and this one specifically, have that kind of like Colbert problem where dealing damage is kind of all you do. Like, you don't spot well, you don't cap contest well, you're just there to do damage. You have no utility. You don't have any radar, of course. You don't even have any smoke, so you can't smoke someone else up. You're just there to do damage. So if you're not doing damage at any given moment in time, then you're just not adding a lot to the game. And that's the problem I have. I mean, you do get some highlight reel plays, and they can be frustrating to play against, especially in a battleship. But, you know, I think the thing is that the player base is getting better and better at understanding the limitations of submarines. And I really feel like if you know what submarines are doing, you can counter them pretty hard. Like, I don't think they're anything like aircraft carriers, because aircraft carriers, even if you know exactly what to do, the carrier player can still make your life miserable. There's a lot of things he can do to you that you're not going to be able to do much about. And he adds so much utility to the game, like spotting, for example. But in a submarine, yes, it can be frustrating, but if you know what you're doing, I don't think it's really all that hard to avoid the torpedoes. And he doesn't add anything else to the game. This Scharnhorst is just tracking down my... I mean, that's the other problem, right? With the new pings, the way it gives away your location by putting that thing... This is just bad luck. Well, I mean, obviously I should have known. I don't know if the Scharnhorst did that on purpose, directed my torpedoes into the hulk of that sinking ship, but I'm not sure he would have taken those torpedoes anyway. Like I said, this guy seems to know what he's doing, and when you know what you're doing, it's just not that hard. I mean, they nerfed subs a good bit by doing things like adding that indicator that a person used the ping, but also the acoustic homing. It stops at different ranges for different kinds of ships, and for battleships it actually stops fairly far out away from the battleship. And because of that, if you know what you're doing as a battleship player, you can just wait until the torpedoes get to about the area where they're going to stop homing. You can use your DCP, and then you can just make a hard rudder shift. You can sail towards the torpedoes, but at a slight angle, and then make a hard rudder shift to do slightly away from the torpedoes, and they'll basically miss you every single time. Now, I mean, of course, that means that you have to know they're coming, and you have to be free to maneuver. You can't have other people shooting at you. You can't have islands in your way. So it's not always going to work out. But again, for a player that knows what they're doing. So that's the new China 14. Do I recommend you pick it up? No, I can't say I do. I mean, unless you're just a collector and you're just really an enjoyer of submarines. It's got some fun gimmicks. It's kind of neat. There's some good ideas there with the hard-hitting deep water torpedoes, but it's so hard to hit any of them that it winds up just, I don't know. Yeah, I can't say it's super fun, but that's it. That's the game. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you guys in the next one.